9 years ago today, Jose Fernandez tragically lost his life in a boating accident. And I want to take some time to remember the person he was, the legacy he left behind, and the impact he had on so many people around him.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremiah Geiger2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, leave a like, leave a comment, and share the podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And on today's show, we're going to remember Jose Fernandez. That is the subject of today's show. 9 years ago today, Jose Fernandez lost his life. And I'll never forget that morning. I woke up, and I think most of you who are watching or listening to the show remember the totality of that horrible day, where you were when you found out the news. For me, I woke up. It was just a Sunday morning in September. We had church that day. I walked into my parents' room, and my dad, he's a very blunt individual. Sometimes he doesn't sugarcoat tough news, I would say, is the best way to describe him in this particular situation. He said, "Your favorite pitcher just died last night." I said, "What? Like, what? What are you talking about?" And he showed me his phone, and he would always set his home, not his home screen, but when you go to Safari or the internet, it would go to Drudge Report. And sure enough, that was the headline. Jose Fernandez killed in a boating accident. And that had just happened, a few hours ago, the night before. And I was shocked, completely shocked. There's no way that's reality. You can't process it because it's just shocking. So for the entirety of that day, I was in a daze. I was shocked. And I'm sure many of you felt the same. It was an emotional, tragic day. And Jose Fernandez, although he died, he left and died so young. And the tragic circumstances around the situation, we're not going to get into that. We're going to talk about how he is remembered. And there's 2 parts to this equation. Number one, the stating the obvious would be he was a talented baseball player who loved the game of baseball and pitched with enthusiasm. That's why they called him El Nino. But number 2 is the type of person he was. Because everybody makes mistakes in life. Bad decisions happen, but that doesn't define you. And I think about this story when it comes to Jose Fernandez, because he defected from Cuba, a country in which many of Americans can't imagine the lifestyle that goes on there. That was Jose's home, and he fled to America in search of a better life, in search of a better future. And that alone takes courage. And then number 2, when he came to America from Cuba, when he was defecting, there's a story in which a woman fell out of the boat into the sea. And immediately Jose jumps overboard to save her at 15 years old. Without hesitation, without second thought, he saw somebody who needed to be saved. And he hurls himself into the water, saves her, And only then does he find out that was his own mother. His own mother. That was his fourth try trying to defect Cuba. 3 unsuccessful attempts. That to me right there, the baseball part of it aside, the circumstances aside with the boating accident and all that, that shows the quality and the type of person that Jose Fernandez was. Somebody that would put his own life at risk to save who he thought, for all intents and purposes, was a stranger. And I can't believe it's been 9 years without Jose Fernandez. Every year on September 25th, I think about it. And I think, 2016 was the last season in which Jose Fernandez pitched. That was the first season in which I saw my first Marlins game. Marlins and the Diamondbacks, actually, in Phoenix at Chase Field. Went with my dad, my brother, and it was a 3-game series. We saw all 3 games. And I remember Jose Fernandez pitched in one of them. I remember, I was 14 at this time. Before the game, I go down behind the Marlins dugout to see the players, maybe chase an autograph or two. And I saw Jose Fernandez, 15 feet away from me. And I have that image ingrained in my mind. And he looked happy. That's how he played the game. That's how he lived life. And you saw the effect that he had on his teammates and the people around him. When the Marlins canceled that game, the very next game they played against the New York Mets, D. Gordon, tribute to Jose, right-handed, goes in the right-handed batter's box, emulates his stance, and then switches to his normal side, his left-handed side, and smashes a home run deep to right, in which he said he'd never hit a home run that far. Can't make that up. And there's a sense of loss every time, this date passes, because he was so young. He lived, just a short time on this earth. But I remember the outpour of love, especially from the Cuban community in South Florida. Just the tragedy that, as horrible as it was, the outpour of affection and love and gratitude and recognition of somebody that they looked up to, that pursued his dreams, pursued the American dream, coming from a foreign country, becoming an American citizen. And he's not here anymore. So I do think it's always important to remember, yes, the pitcher that he was, because I've never seen a pitcher as talented as Jose Fernandez was. I've been a fan since I was 12 years old, 2014. And Jose Fernandez underwent Tommy John surgery that year, later came back in 2015 against the Giants. I remember the buildup to Jose's back, the return from Tommy John surgery. I remember, that 2016 season, his last start against the Washington Nationals, in which he just dominated. But baseball aside, this was about a person who loved his teammates, loved playing the game, and just had a joy about him that could only be expressed authentically. So we miss you, Jose. We love you. And I just want to say rest in peace, and we will always remember. Coming up next, hindsight on the 2025 season. What individual games do I wish the Marlins had back? I'm going to talk about that right after this. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, or maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. That's exactly where Rugiet Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. And the effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is very simple. You connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. You don't have to go out of your home or see anybody. It's all online. And if you're prescribed, your treatment will ship discreetly right to your door. So if you're ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to Rugiet.com and use promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LockedOnMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. This episode's also brought to you by Gametime. Guys, the Marlins have 3 games left at Lone Depot Park against the Mets, an opportunity to maybe sneak into the playoffs if everything breaks right, or at the very least, spoil their season. So go out to Lone Depot, buy a ticket, and I encourage you to buy your ticket using Gametime. Go out and support the Fish for the last series in 2025. Gametime's great. It's fast, it's easy, and it's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. My favorite part of Gametime and why I recommend it so strongly is because it has all-in pricing. There's not going to be any hidden fees. What you see is what you're going to pay. That number you see, if it says $75, if it says $25, it's going to be those numbers at checkout. No ifs, ands, or buts. So super simple. You can also see the exact view of your seat before you buy. So that's a great aspect as well. It's fast, it's cheap, it's less stressful than other ways of buying tickets. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. I appreciate all the everyday listeners who make Locked On Marlins a part of your daily routine. 2 episodes today. We did a live show earlier, so this is the second episode coming your way. Hindsight on the 2025 season. And, baseball is an interesting sport because it doesn't feel like every game necessarily matters until it does. And you can go ask Mets fans and Reds fans and Diamondbacks fans and Cardinals fans and Giants fans and Marlins fans all the same question. Would you have, when you really boil it down to the essential topic at hand, you need wins and losses, and you need a better record than your opponent. And how do you collect wins? By winning throughout the season. So yes, each and every game, each and every series matters. And there's a couple of them for the Marlins that really stand out to me. Number 1, that Rockies series. June 2nd through the 4th. Man, I wish the Marlins could get that back. The Marlins took care of business in Colorado, but at the time, the Rockies and the Marlins, when they faced off in June, Colorado hadn't even reached double digits in wins. And this is the month of June. The month of June, and they were under 10 wins. Then they go into Lone Depot Park, sweep the Marlins. It was embarrassing. It was pathetic. And it felt like, the death knell of the Marlins season. Now, that certainly wasn't the case. You come out of that series, you start playing with your hair on fire, and you start collecting wins. Since, I mean, they had the Rays and the Pirates after that, and they lost both of those series. But then it was a series sweep against the Nationals, a tough fought series against the Phillies, and then you win a series against the Braves. You sweep the Giants, you sweep the Diamondbacks. That's where things started all clicking into place for the Fish, and you put yourself in a position at the trade deadline to not sell low on your players, not trade off Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara and essentially have a fire sale 2.0, but legitimately have a chance to make a run at this thing. And as I'm recording this, the Marlins still aren't eliminated with 4 games left to play. Now they have 4 games left. They could get eliminated tonight if the Phillies beat the Fish. It's done. Marlins have to win, and they need a Cubs win as well. The Diamondbacks also, they're currently losing to the Dodgers. Hopefully that score holds. They can't win 2 more games. The Reds, they won today. They have to get swept by the Brewers. Marlins hold a lot of tiebreakers, so it's a distinct possibility, but a possibility nonetheless. After that Yankees series, though, right after the trade deadline, the Marlins sweep the Yankees. They get back to 500. The vibes are immaculate. Everybody is hyped. Everybody is energized within the Marlins fan base. And then you have the Astros at home, and you get blown out the first 2 games. You salvage the last game, and then it's to Atlanta for a 5-game series because there was a rainout all the way back in April. The Marlins had to remake that game in their next trip to Truist Park. This is the next example of which I'd really like to have back right now. A pathetic showing that weekend. You dropped 4 out of 5, including getting swept in a doubleheader. The only bright spot of that entire series was Edward Cabrera dominating that Friday night. He was fantastic. The rest of the pitching staff was not. The offense didn't do enough. And this team held leads throughout these games. It wasn't like they were getting blown out from start to finish. In fact, if you go back to the box score, there were times in which the Marlins were playing good baseball, but then they just let it slip away. So going back to that 5-game set, dropping 4 out of 5 was obviously, apart from losing all 5, that would be just horrendous. That was brutal for the Fish, and that was when the Marlins just continue to fall into a downhill spiral. They lost the next series to the Guardians, and then the Red Sox, the Cardinals, the Blue Jays, the Braves, and then they finally split a series at the end of August with the Mets. That Brave series, yeah, it was brutal because the Fish are better than the Braves this season. These aren't your, Braves of yesteryear. This Braves team is not good, but for whatever reason, however you make it make sense, whenever the Marlins play at Truist Park, bad things happen. And so that's one. The Rockies series, couple series I'd really like to have back. I could go with Boston because that one, of course, was when Josh Simpson infamously came into the bottom of the 9th, and manager Clayton McCullough defended it vehemently, saying they were going to save Ronnie Enriquez for extras. Well, Clayton, you really can't save the bullets if you can't get there in the first place. Those bullets ain't going to do you any good. And that's what happened. The Josh Simpson blows it. I was working that night. I came back home. I was driving home, and I opened up Twitter and saw what was going on, and I was furious. That's one individual game I'd love to have back. Put Ronnie Enriquez in there. Maybe it goes to extras, and you win it. The last give me back this series, give me back this game is going to be the beginning of this month, September, at home, or on the road rather, against the Nationals, when you got swept 3-game sweep at the hands of the Nats. At that point, I was just like, oh, come on. Like, you're going to go to the Nationals house, and yeah, it's on the road. You're in the middle of a road trip, or you're finishing up a road trip rather. But you had just been playing good baseball against the Mets. You split the series. You feel pretty good heading into that week. You're really going to go to DC and get swept by a poverty Nats team? Really? The first game of that series, you get shut out 2-0 and you only manage 2 hits? Where was the offense? Non-existent the first 2 games. Brutal sweep. I'd love to have that one back. So that's where I am. Hindsight on the season. You just add a few more wins here and there. The Marlins could be in the position of the Reds or even the position of the Mets. And then it's a real, mano-a-mano clash this weekend at Lone Depot between the Mets and the Fish. I'd love to have a few games back. But as they say, hindsight is 20/20. At the time, it's just another loss. But it's at moments like this when you look back, you say, yeah, this would have helped. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the minor league MVPs for the Fish. Going down all the levels, the Marlins organization, who they named their MVPs. That's coming up right after this. NFL season is finally back. We're already in week 4. Football season always flies by, but FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel is great because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, same-game parlays, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. From my personal experience, though, I do like parlays. They're attractive. The parlays are there, and you can build up some juicy ones on the FanDuel app. It makes watching the games more exciting, whether you're watching your team or you're just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, and that's where you put some money in for those player props. So hopefully your fantasy team does well, and you can get some money as well. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little more energy to NFL Sundays. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And if that $5 bet wins, you'll receive $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. If you're new to the show, if you're an everyday listener, share the podcast. Let them know about Locked On Marlins. If you have a friend or family member who wants some daily Marlins content, this is the place for you. Locked On Marlins is also on all the major podcast platforms, so you can listen to the show wherever you are. The Marlins released their MVPs for their minor league affiliates, so we're going to go down or up the list rather. The Dominican Summer League Marlins MVP is outfielder Luis Cova. Luis Cova is somebody who I'm familiar with. I really think he has a lot of potential. I'm ready for him to come to stateside at this point. He hit just under 300, 299, 9 homers, an OPS of 959. And I know stats don't necessarily matter at that level. You want to see them at least get to low A Jupiter before, making any, I guess, declarations. That scene from The Office where Michael Scott goes, "I declare," like, you can't be saying Luis Cova is going to be the next big thing until you see him at the next level. So excited for his development. Still 18 years old. He'll be ready for Jupiter, I hope, next season. Let's see here. Nate Payne, Florida FCL Marlins MVP, is a left-handed pitcher. Nate Payne is a draft pick from 2024, so a season ago, 18th round draft pick out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 17 starts, 56 and a third, 73 strikeouts. So again, he did get promoted though to Jupiter. So he made his final 6 starts with Jupiter, and it went well. 3.24 ERA, striking out 18 in 16 and 2/3. You'd like to see the control go down a little bit, but I'm glad he got the promotion, and hopefully he can work through this Marlins system. Eliezer Dishmay is the Jupiter MVP right-handed pitcher. I like Dishmay a lot. I think he's somebody who has a bright future in the Marlins organization. The main concern with Dishmay isn't the stuff necessarily. It's just, he's made it to high A. How is the command? It looked pretty solid. 20 years old. With Jupiter, he made 15 starts, 17 games total, struck out 76 in 74 and 2/3. And then with Beloit, made 5 starts, 2.19 ERA, struck out 32 in 24 and 2/3. So the walk rate, manageable, 4.35. Strikeout rate, exactly the same across the last 2 seasons, 9.79 strikeout per 9. So I'm a big fan of Dishmay. I think he's somebody that the Marlins organization has high hopes for. Obviously, they feel good about him and his development this year, being the Jupiter MVP as a pitcher. And then high A Beloit, Carson Milbrandt. Milbrandt had a breakout season, electric arm, got promoted to Double A, a well-deserved promotion. He repeated this level from a year ago, and it was just miles better in terms of production. 22 starts, an ERA of 3. You go back to last season in Beloit, he had a 4.33 ERA. He made 19 starts with Beloit before getting a well-deserved promotion to Pensacola, where he made 2 starts, struck out 10 and 10 and 2/3. So he'll most likely start next season in Pensacola and just progress through the system. It's all about progression. He made the jump from high A to Double A. That's a big jump, especially when you're used to pitching, for the high A level. That was his 3rd season. Well, pretty much 2 full seasons. And then the back half of 2023, he made 11 starts as well. So I think he got used to Beloit, Wisconsin. It was time for a promotion, and he got it. The AAA MVP, or the AA MVP rather, Thomas White. Thomas White, the number 1 prospect in the Marlins organization. How many good things can you say about this guy? Dominant. He's going to be an ace. He has superstar Cy Young potential. He made AA hitters look like they were playing, in Little League, and a Little League team facing the varsity team. That's really how just incredible White is. Got the velocity. He strikes out everybody. The main concern with White is the command. Sometimes he can get a little bit wild, get some runaway innings now and there, but he's still so young and has progressed so quickly through this system. Ultra talented competitor. He's going to be in Miami, I think, at some point next season, and is going to shine. The AAA MVP, and you could argue the second half MVP for the Marlins, is Jacob Marcy. Jacob Marcy is a 5-tool player. He checks every box as somebody who you want to give a contract extension to and make sure he's here for the long haul, because that dude is really, really good. There were some question marks about, his overall contact skills, or rather his hit tool a season ago. In the Southern League, his average just wasn't happening. It was kind of sitting in the low 200s. Then he got promoted to Double A. Things were trending upward. And then this season, everything clicked. The power surged. The speed was there. It's still there. Got promoted at the beginning of August and took off running. Like, he did not stop and look back like, hey, I'm in the major leagues. Like, I'm grateful to be here. No, he dominated from day one. A clear professional approach at the plate, and somebody that I think is going to be an all-star as early as next season, is just somebody who is a really good baseball player in all facets of the game. Defense, his approach, he has power, he has speed, literally checks every box. I'm super happy he's the center fielder and going to be the center fielder of the future. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.